Now, I don't really want to judge the culture of other civilizations, of other countries, of other areas of the world. But after watching this game tonight, hi, by the way, Tim Drodge here, View from the South Stands, coming to you on Wednesday, late Wednesday evening, after, of course, TFC's win in Panama over Toro FC 2-1 that saw them get their first 3 points in the group stages of the Concacaf Champions League. But getting back to what I said a second ago, not to judge the culture of others, but I really got to ask about football in Central America. I really do, because I simply don't understand a couple of things. Now, I'm a Panamanian. I work on the canal, or I'm working in Panama City, or whatever the case may be. And please forgive me if I'm being anyways stereotypical here, but I'm living in Panama City. I'm a working class stiff, and I've got some pesos in my pocket. Why in God's name would I want to spend my hard-earned peso on entertainment like what we see in Panamanian football? I really don't understand the attraction. I don't understand how somebody can sit in the stands and wear the jersey and even pretend to enjoy the display that their team is putting on the field. The diving, the unsportsmanlike play, the trying to trick the referee into giving cards to an opponent, the gamesmanship, playing into all of these stereotypes is sickening to me. I just honestly don't understand how people can actually spend their money to go and watch that kind of garbage. I honestly don't understand it. If anybody can explain it to me, I'd really like you to write below in the comments and explain to me how in God's name there's entertainment value in that kind of display. But at the end of the day, TFC did do what they needed to do, in spite of the officiating again being the story, much as I feared in the piece I wrote earlier today, and in a more extensive pre-Champions League group stage piece I wrote last week. I really hoped against hope, but again, I've been burned too many times now, unfortunately, by the refereeing, that this Marco Bray guy from Cuba wouldn't be the story, and he was the story, and I'll get to him in a little bit. Frings was desperately missed, wasn't he? He had 2 cards, one of them a real bogus card in the second game against Real Esteli in the qualification stages. We found out subsequently those cards carry over, so he was suspended for this game, and I don't think he even made the trip to Panama. There were 2 other players in the Real Esteli games that picked up cards that didn't factor tonight. Those cards are still in effect, so suspensions are going to start coming into play now, on top of the 5, count them, 5 cards that TFC got tonight from this poxy referee named Marco Bray. Terry Dunfield and Gianluca Zavarisi have cards holding over from the Nicaragua series. Andy Iro, Richard Eckersley, Julian de Guzman, Milos Kosic, and Matt Stinson all have yellows respectively for TFC after tonight's game. So 1 more yellow from either of those 7 players, and they're going to be suspended for their next match. And I think the fear of yellows and the absence of Frings were the reasons why TFC looked so disjointed, and why a really poor team like Toro was able to keep the game as close as they were. I think I've seen CSL sides this year that the TFC Academy has played that are better teams than what I saw tonight from the Panamanians, due respect to them. But yet they gave TFC a run for the money due to the officiating. And I think the fact that the TFC players went into this game with instructions maybe from their coaching staff to not give the Panamanians any opportunity to suck them into a bogus card or a bogus foul. The ref did enough of that on his own, and I'll get to the ref again, as I stated in a little while. But I think that led to the Toro players getting as much space on the ball as they did, and why they ended up leading the possession stats, I think 55-45 at the end of the day. A few players deserve mention. Ryan Johnston now has 3 goals in the Champions League this year for TFC. That's the best ever, if I'm not mistaken. I had to consult my stats on the TFC Picks website again, but I think from memory that he's got the most goals in the Champions League for TFC. He also set up the Julian de Guzman goal, which was quite nice as well. That again brings me to the second player I want to mention, which was Julian de Guzman, who picked up a really a bogus yellow card, and he had a pretty good and a pretty off game, I think, all rolled into one. The goal was fabulous, a nice play. He was given maybe 6 or 7 yards space, ran it a few yards in, and put a screamer in past the Panamanian goalie. Those are two pretty similar goals, of course, that he scored. His first in TFC uniform, I should say, since he's been here, which is an indictment in and of itself. But hey, I'm going to give him some credit there. They were nice goals, and they came at good times, and they were important. The penalty that he conceded, which was arguably about the only correct call that the referee got right all night, wasn't so good. I looked at it first and went, it's a bit of a 50-50. I was shouted down loudly on Twitter, I think. I was tweeted down, probably is a better way to say it, by people saying, no, Tim, that was a justifiable penalty. So I'm going to give the Twitterverse the benefit of the doubt there. I don't know what he was doing lunging in like that in retrospect. Andy Iro was subbed off in, I think, the 37th or 38th minute after receiving a yellow card that he probably wouldn't have gotten if his first touch on the ball was better. So Iro is here, and there's a Panamanian player. The Panamanian player is there. The ball comes to Iro's feet, and instead of him controlling the ball at his feet and being able to move it off somewhere else, he loses control. The ball goes to the Panamanian player. He lunges in, a bit of a 50-50 play, but in a 50-50 play, the Gringos apparently get screwed. He got a yellow card, and a couple of minutes later, I think, to protect the fact that TFC had 11 players on the pitch, he was actually subbed off for Robinson. Don't think it's going to do a lot for the kid's confidence, that's for sure. Let me see here. Danny Kuvermans didn't really have a great game either. I think for the first time in his time in Toronto, he had a pretty nondescript game. He's the kind of player that'll go 15 or 20 minutes without you hearing from him, seeing him do much or hearing from him. Then he'll pop up with a nice chance or a nice goal-scoring opportunity or a nice move or a nice hold on the ball. Take your pick. Everybody has seen what he can bring to the table at this point. He didn't bring too much to the table tonight, unfortunately. Now, getting to the referee, Marco Bray, and I talked about him earlier, coming into the game tonight. In the last 5 international matches that he had refereed that I was able to find information on, he had given out 22 yellows and 2 reds. Now, in 6 games, that's gone up to 28 yellows and 2 reds. And that's in 6 games. That's absolutely disgraceful. Fouls, 30-11 against TFC. Shots, which I think are all down, in my humble opinion, to the TFC coaching staff telling the players to play off Toro and not give the referee a chance to take the game away from them, ended up being 14-7. Possession, which was almost 50-50 at the half, ended up being 56-44 at the end of the day, with most of Toro's possession coming well into the second half. And again, I think the only call that the referee got right tonight was the penalty. Now, one of the other calls that the referee got wrong, which was absolutely egregious as well, was I think in the 71st minute, TFC had a goal called back on an absolute, clear, wrong, incorrect, dubious, sketchy call. They called it on an offside when it absolutely wasn't. The link to the video is up on Toronto FC TV already. I'd highly recommend that you actually take a look at it. Go and take a look at that. It's on torontofc.ca on their TV player, and you'll see for yourself that it wasn't offside. But hey, now that my spleen is vented over the officiating and over the style of play and the soccer culture in Panama, it's time to start looking at what's coming up for the Reds. They did what they had to do in Panama. They're leaving with points in hand the way that they were supposed to, and they're tied for first in the group after the first game, which is what everybody had hoped would be the case as well. They play Chicago on Sunday, so they're going to be jetting out of Panama City tomorrow morning and heading to Chicago, Illinois to play the Fire on Sunday evening. The Fire have only had 2 wins in MLS all season. They are a poor side, so I think there's an opportunity for the Reds to continue this winning streak. And the winning streak, by the way, I think we can call it the ugliest winning streak in the history of sport anywhere in the civilized world in the history of time. They haven't lost in 6 games, but boy, oh boy, is that an ugly streak. Hopefully they can continue the streak in Chicago on Sunday and maybe break their duck on the road in MLS and get a win against what is arguably the worst team in Major League Soccer. Now, next week comes an even more crucial match, arguably, than the one tonight. I think everybody going into the game tonight probably thought the TFC was going to be the much superior team, and it was going to take, you know, a lot of things to happen for the Reds not to get the points. They got the points. Here we are. But the Dallas game is going to be really interesting. Now, Dallas went to Mexico City last night and did something that no Major League Soccer club has ever done before, which was they went to Mexico City and they bloody won the game. They beat Pumas 1-0 away. That might come back and give TFC some problems later on in the group stage if Pumas comes back and takes care of business the way that everybody probably expects them to do. But TFC is going to be playing the aforementioned FC Dallas next Wednesday at BMO Field. Now, the question that has to be asked is, does Dallas have more of an eye on Major League Soccer than they might have on the Concacaf Champions League? Dallas has a chance to win the West. Dallas has a chance to be seeded and have a good slot and maybe get one of the poorer teams in the MLS playoffs. They were an MLS Cup finalist last year. They're a very, very solid team. David Ferreira, one of their great players, is on the way back. Brett Shea has earned himself perhaps a perennial spot now for the next number of years on the U.S. national team. They're a very solid club by MLS standards, but they've got a couple of tough MLS games, critical MLS games for their playoff future, coming up. One on Saturday against Seattle at home. Then they've got the TFC game here in Toronto. Then they've got Kansas City away in a stadium where Kansas City has yet to lose. So and now that they've beaten Pumas and got a little bit of a maybe a bonus in their first game, whether they're going to be taking the game next week as seriously as Toronto FC will, of course, as I stated earlier, we will see. Now, the final score is TFC 2. Corrupt Cuban official Marco Bray 1. And that's the game. I really hope that Bob DeClercq knows who Bronski Beat is. I don't know if you do or not, but I'm an 80s boy, and I remember the Bronski Beat pretty well. One of their big songs was called Tell Me Why. And it was quite funny watching Bob DeClercq at the end of the game tonight yelling, not at the end, but when he got sent off, because he got sent off to the showers early as well, for yelling at the officials for all of the horrible calls that his team were getting. One of the highlights for me was video of DeClercq literally looking into the camera and mouthing the words, "Tell me why. Tell me why I'm being sent off." And I thought that was one of the more enjoyable moments of the evening. So there you have it. 1 game down, 5 to go. 3 points down, maybe 7 points to go to have a fighting chance of qualifying for the knockout stages. Well done, TFC. Thank you again for the ugliest winning streak in the history of the world. And let's hope that you can continue it this weekend on Saturday, I should say, versus the Fire in Toyota Park in Chicago. Thanks very much again for watching. Your comments and criticisms are always appreciated and welcome in this space, and please feel free to jot them down below in the comments section. I'd always like to hear from you. Thanks again, and I'll have another video blog up on Monday, I should say, after the TFC game on Sunday evening. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.